Happy New Year's, y'all. This is Mr. KB. I just finished watching the Niners-Rams game, and they won! They won in overtime with a couple nice plays on the offensive side. All of it set up by the blocked field goal attempt on the Rams side. I can't remember who exactly for the Niners blocked the Rams field goal, but that led to screens and runs and passes that gave Phil Dawson a chip shot for the game winner, and they won. They finished the season 5-11, meaning that I'm not sure how it breaks up with between them, Jacksonville, and I can't remember who else is. Let me look really quick. I know they were towards the bottom of this, but they were actually in the playoff hunt because the West was kind of weak. Well, either way, I can't remember who else is in there. I believe it was the Titans. I don't know how else it breaks down between those three teams, but the Niners will pick no worse than 7th in this year's upcoming draft. If tiebreakers are not in their favor, which would actually be a favor for them, they will pick 5th. So either way, they have a top 10 pick for the first time in 4 years. That's sad. But they did win, so that was hype. It's always a good game when the Rams and the Niners play. This win also takes the Niners to one game over 500 against the Rams. Going into, I believe there were 64, 64, and 3 of all the games they've played together. So now they're 65, 64, and 3 with the favor going in the Niners position. Blaine Gabbert had a decent game. There were a couple of times where I wished he would have taken shots downfield, but this does mark the 8th game in a row that he does have a passing touchdown, which is second in Niners record. The first being Tim Rattay with 9 games, spanning a long time ago. I believe that was a 2003-2004 season. So this is the longest streak for a Niners quarterback. Blaine Gabbert, if he starts week 1 next season, will actually be able to tie that streak week 1 if he is a starting quarterback. And he has a whole season to break it and see how far he can actually take it. Okay, so that was the Niner intro. They won. Talking some NFL stuff, the Niners didn't make the playoffs. On the AFC side, though, we do have the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots taking 1-2. Both teams will have a bye week for the first week of the playoffs. And then the Cincinnati Bengals and the Houston Texans clinch their divisions, the North and I believe the South for the Texans. And both will be playing at home next week in the wild card game. It looks like the Bengals will be playing the Steelers and the Texans will be playing the Chiefs with Alex Smith, former 49ers quarterback. They finished the season, I believe, on a 10-game winning streak to finish 11-5. I didn't keep up with them, but I believe they were 1-5 to start the first 6 games of the season. All of a sudden, they're in the playoffs. Kudos to Alex Smith. When he left, I wished him nothing but the best when he left. And it looks like they got a good coaching staff around him, and he's in the playoffs. What can I say? I always did like him. Thought he was NFL smart. Just got a bone wrap in San Francisco, in my opinion, having to deal with 7 head coaches in his first 8 seasons or whatever it was. On the NFC side, we have Carolina and the Cardinals going 1-2. Carolina does clinch home field advantage throughout the whole thing as they hold a 2-game lead over the Arizona Cardinals. So 1-2, both Panthers and Cardinals will have first round bye weeks next week for the playoffs, and it looks like the rest of it is settled out to be actually depending on today's game. Actually, I don't know how this actually breaks down, but there's still one more game in about half an hour between the Packers and the Vikings. I believe, and I could be wrong here, if Green Bay wins, they will have home field advantage. Maybe. Yes, they will have home field advantage because they will be the NFC North winners. And that will drop, I believe, the Vikings to 6th. Meaning that next week, if Green Bay wins this week, will be a rematch of this week's game. If the Vikings win, I believe that means the Vikings are the NFC North winners. The Packers will drop to 5th. And therefore, the first round matches for the NFC would be the Vikings against the Seahawks and the Redskins against the Packers. I prefer it that way, so I'm kind of hoping that the Vikings actually win. I don't want to see a rematch. I'm hoping that the Vikings actually win and it plays out that way. I do think that the Redskins actually do have a chance against the Packers because the Packers are a little bit depleted overall, and I believe that would be a good matchup to see week 1. And other than that, well, there's no Niners in the playoffs again this year. Alright, so we got that out of the way. It was an okay season. What can I say? It wasn't the best season. It wasn't the worst season because, I mean, we did win some games as Niners. What I want to see next year, I guess the most prominent questions are going to be, is Tom Sula going to come back and is Kaepernick going to come back? Now, these are all my opinions. I don't know how anything is going to play out. I don't believe Kaepernick will be back. They did not play him at all and put him on IR, I think, after week 13. And he's worth $17 million against the cap next season if they don't cut him by April 1st. If they do cut him by April 1st, they will save $11 million of that towards the cap, which they can use to invest in position players, which they so desperately need. So I just financially, I don't think that Kaepernick will be back next year. He does not play like a $100 million quarterback, in my opinion. I've had this opinion of him pretty much since he got the contract. I don't believe he plays like one. Not to say that he's not a good quarterback. I believe there will be teams looking for a quarterback that would be willing to give him a shot. I can see the Washington Redskins giving him a shot, or at least getting him. Dallas Cowboys need a quarterback with Romo always being injured, and they don't have a solid backup in Dallas. Who else would actually be beneficial right now of a quarterback? Looking at all the teams, I believe Drew Brees and the Saints. If Drew Brees decides to retire, they just have to let him go. Kaepernick might be in the Saints uniform next year. Let's see. Indiana has a quarterback. The Giants. Maybe in Philly, he might also have a chance, depending on what the coach wants to bring. They don't have a quarterback in Philly either, so he can very well be a Philadelphia Eagle next year. Let me see who else. They have a quarterback. They have quarterbacks. Maybe San Diego, depending on how Phillip Rivers feels. If he retires or they decide, hey, we don't want you around, and they cut him as well. And that's pretty much it. There's 5 teams, and I'll repeat them again. San Diego, Philadelphia, Washington, Dallas, and I named one more, and I can't remember who. And it doesn't, and New Orleans, depending on the Drew Brees situation. A lot of these are dependent upon what the starting rotation is for New Orleans and San Diego. So there's really 3 teams to really only consider. And 2 if Washington is content with having Kirk Cousins be their starter. So I don't think he'll be back one way or another. Coach Tom Sula. I don't know what to make of him. I believe he has the coaching chops. I don't know if he's head coach material. It's very hard to, I believe, make a judgment on a coach like that after one season. There was some lowlights, there was some highlights, there was some questionable play calling. Overall, the team played fairly solid and were maybe 1 or 2 play calls away from honestly ending the season 500 and being up there in consideration of a playoff spot, maybe even 9-7. But he's going to have to play more with his gut and stop trying to play the smart football. I believe the problem the Niners had this season was Tom Sula played scared. He played in a fashion where he was scared to lose his job if he didn't do everything right. And I think that kind of transferred onto the field, and I think you saw that with some of the play calling, not going for it when they should have, and even in the Rams game, not giving Phil Dawson the chance to end the game with a 58-yarder or whatever it is that they had, and going for the punt instead. And it worked out at the end, but I think at that point you have to give it to Phil Dawson and let him try to go for that 50-plus yarder and let him win the game in regulation. And then trust your defense to hold the Rams. That's just my take. If he comes back, I don't want to see this scaredy coaching. I want him to have full reign, full freedom, and just go for it down the field. That's the one thing the Niners have lacked over the last 3 or 4 years, and even in the Harbaugh era. Part of the reason why the Harbaugh era was a Harbaugh era is because they had a top 5 defense each one of those years, and they had a good running game. But we never saw the 40-yard bombs, the 30-yard, slants. We never saw any of those big plays develop, and that needs to change. You cannot be a playoff team, much less a Super Bowl winning team, if you are unwilling to take risks down the field for those big explosive plays that puts your team in optimal field position. And I think that's what has been lacking. So if Tom Sula can change that and play for today, play every game like it's today. Don't worry about what's going to happen if you make a mistake. Make those mistakes. That's how you learn as a person. That's how you learn in any profession. That's how you learn. You obtain knowledge by doing things the correct way. But it isn't until you mess up that you realize where you need fixing, where you need that actual practice, and what you can do to develop yourself and to improve your situation. Just make mistakes. Go out there and feel free to make mistakes. Don't be scared. What's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, York's going to fire you, so what? Let him fire you. Plain and simple. Because if you don't win, you're going to get fired anyways. So if you're going to lose in a big, great ball of fire. You know what I'm saying? Lead the league in interceptions of 30-plus yards. Who cares? Just go for it. That's what I would want. I think his chances of coming back are going to be 50-50. I don't know exactly who they can bring in, who's available. I believe this was Sean Payton's last year in New England. I would not mind seeing Sean Payton brought to New England, but the problem is that Sean Payton also coaches the worst defense in the NFL this year. I believe the New Orleans Saints gave up like 400-plus yards a game. And that's the one thing that fears me about Sean Payton. I believe he's a good head coach. I believe he has the chops. He has a Super Bowl ring. So obviously he's a very intelligent coach. But man, to have a defense, and I know it's not all on him. It's mainly just a defensive coordinator. But to have a defense that allows 400-plus yards a game, no. No, that's not going to fly. So if he can tighten that up, I think he'd probably be the only person that I'd be okay with coming into the Niners, taking over for Tom Sula, and seeing what we can do with him. If you can't get him, then just stay with Tom Sula, build some camaraderie, make the players who are currently there more comfortable with the situation instead of just changing the whole thing. We saw what happened when they tried to do that with Alex Smith while Alex Smith was there, and it didn't work out. They brought in new head coaches, new OCs, new everything. And you saw it on the field that players looked halfway confused, like most of the time, because they learn different things all the time, every season. You need to be able to have some stability in the coaching regimen. So unless Sean Payton is available, just keep Tom Sula. Other places I would like to see them, especially coming into the draft or even free agency, once, again, I believe they let Kaepernick go in the half position, that we need some edge rushers and we need a nose tackle. We need somebody to fill up those gaps, collapse the pocket on the defensive end. We need a pass rusher like a Julius Peppers or an Alden Smith, who we had but just couldn't stay straight, so now he's a Raider. We need somebody to come off the edge like that, a Julius Pepper type and Alden Smith type. We need a big nose tackle to just kind of plug holes in the middle or create just smaller pockets down the middle that will get into the face of most quarterbacks. Again, this wouldn't help against somebody like maybe a Russell Wilson, since he is very mobile. But against 95% of the league, if you can collapse the pocket down the middle and get in the quarterback's face, that disrupts timing, meaning that the defensive backcourt that they have now, which is actually pretty good in 3 to 5 second plays, would pretty much be good because all the plays will last 3 to 5 seconds. It's not until the 5 or 7 second plays that our DBs break down. They allow the middle to become open. They allow the big plays down the field, and that all goes in the front. The running plays, the running game, the running defense, I'm not really that concerned about, as they do have the linebackers. I'm pretty sure they're going to draft more linebackers. So I'm not worried against run defense on that end. The defensive backs is kind of a toss-up. Like I said, I believe they're very solid in those 3 to 5 second plays. It's once those plays get extended past 5 seconds that I think our cornerbacks and our safeties tend to lose focus and allow those big plays on the field. And all of that, in my opinion, can be changed with putting pressure up in the front with an edge rusher or even a big nose tackle to collapse the pocket down the middle, or allow blitzes because it's gonna take two men. Who's out there in the draft? I don't really know, or who's gonna be a free agent next year to kind of take up that gap. I'm not sure, but that's something that needs to happen. On the offensive side, I don't think Reggie Bush will be back next season. He didn't really produce a lot, and he got injured, so I believe they're gonna pay him off, and he won't be back next season. Carlos Hyde is going to be our future back next season. Who backs him up is going to be difficult to say. I believe Mike Davis is going to be backup. And in all honesty, I would like to see Jared Haynes stay and develop a little bit more, at least one more season. If you're not going to use him as a running back, excuse me. If you're not going to use him as a running back, use him as a kick returner. Why do you want to injure your quickest receivers on kick returns? Let this man take the hits whenever the other team scores. He's a very great, I'm gonna call him a great open field runner. Playing Australian football, because he doesn't play rugby, he plays Australian football. That's the type of runs that he's accustomed to. He's accustomed to taking the ball in open fields with blockers, and that's more of his jive. I believe that would be the perfect fit for him, would be straight just kick returns. I don't know about the punt returns because he's had a couple of missteps, and on punt returns, those can kind of kill you if you muffle too many of those. But on kick returns, with blocking in the front, I believe he can find holes. He has the vision. He's strong enough to be a very good kick returner. So I would like to see him come back. As a running back, wide receivers, I believe Bolden is a free agent after this season. I don't know if he'll be back. The man can still produce. The man is still a straight beast. Torrey Smith will be back next season, but he hasn't been able to produce, and part of that problem is they haven't taken shots on the field to actually to accommodate that. Bruce Ellington, very quick. He had a couple good plays today. I believe he will be back, so that's 3. Who's that guy, Simpson? I can't remember. Simpson, he's very quick, but he had a couple of mental breakdowns during some of the games during crucial plays this season. I don't know if Simpson will be back. Tight ends, I believe, with what they have there, they have, I believe, 3 or 4 active tight ends at this current moment. I believe they're good. I don't believe they need to draft any more tight ends. What they do need to actually focus on a lot is also the offensive line. They need to be able to give Gabbard, whoever is going to be the starter next season, more than 3 to 5 seconds to find plays. You need to extend them. That's where the games are won. When you can extend plays beyond the cushion of comfort for the defense, you go deep, you go big, even if you just get them for first downs, if you continually do that, that's the mark of a successful team. So they do need some O-line help bad. Once again, who you draft, who you get, I don't know. But again, my opinion, when they cut Kaepernick, they'll have the money to make some of those moves to get what they have. They can do some in the draft. They could even trade away their first round at 5 and get maybe like a 1 and a 2 or a 1 and a 3 and get more picks in the draft. That's probably what they're going to do. I don't see them needing anybody that bad to spend money on a 5 pick. They could probably even get 2, 3, 4 and just max out on draft picks. What else happened? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Oh, sorry, I thought it was a baby. My bad, I'm over here screaming at my wife. That was my son just coming in. He knows what I'm doing here. So, damn, where did I miss this? They just threw it off for a bunch. Yeah, so they do need position players. What they can actually draft, I don't know. I'm not the GM. The one thing that Balky does, even though I hate him so much. What he actually does is he gets the draft picks. He does get the position players in place to develop talent. Even though I hate the man beyond belief because I think he just thinks he's like the best GM ever. He's able to get draft picks and he's able to develop some talent. Some of the best talent in the NFL plays for the Niners. They just haven't been able to kind of put it together this year. But so the last 4 years, that wasn't just people coming in once Harbaugh came. Those players had been there 3, 4, 5 seasons, 2 seasons or whatnot, and they played really, really well. And that was all because, they drafted extremely well. So we got that, and I think that's it. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be talking about any of the playoff games, to be honest. I believe this will be my last NFL-centric or football-centric vlog up until maybe the draft, depending on how or what free agent moves they make or what coaching changes they make, I might just again throw my opinion in there. But as far as like concentrating on football, that's gonna be pretty done until September and the next NFL season starts again. And that's just how I do. I don't watch anything else. And yeah, so that's it. I mean, that's really it. It was a nice win. It was a nice feeling to see the Niners win their final game of the season. I have allergies. Sorry. And yeah, so that's it. Once again, Happy New Year's to everybody out there. Thank you guys for watching all season long. I'll be back next season. Hopefully next season I won't have to use this whack ass webcam, and I'll have like a camcorder or something where I can do like 4K videos or something with higher resolution, maybe another DSLR, and just bring up a little bit of production value here. Have a little banner behind me, and those are plans for next year. We'll see what happens. And so I'll catch you guys later. Happy New Year's and great games with the Niners. Peace out, peoples. Bye.